setting us back years. And so we have on our website at responsibletechnology.org, in the upper right-hand corner, we have an action alert where you can send a letter to the governor of Ohio demanding that we have the right to know if our milk is from drugged cows. And we even have phone numbers in there if you want to call. It would be great to win back, to make sure that we protect our right to know if we're drinking drugged milk or feeding it to our kids. And for extra motivation, you should know that the milk from cows that have been injected have higher levels of pus, higher levels of antibiotics, higher levels of bovine growth hormone, and most importantly, higher levels of a hormone called IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1, which is linked to higher rates of cancer and higher rates of fraternal twins. In fact, one study showed that the higher rates of fraternal twins in the U.S. compared to the U.K. are probably due to the fact that we allow bovine growth hormone in our dairy herds, and it's banned in the U.K. and almost everywhere else.
All right, let's go to the phones. We'll go to Whiddy Island in Washington. It's Galadriel. Hi, welcome to the show.
Hi, George. You know what this is kind of bringing up for me? Has anyone looked into if this is what's killing our honeybees?
It's an excellent question, and here's the deal. It would not be the sole reason, because the colony collapse disorder is also found in countries where they don't plant GMOs. But the amount of honeybees that are dying in the U.S. is greater, and so it is possible that it is a contributing factor. In fact, there was a study where they allowed bees to pollinate on these Bt corn crops. So the Bt is designed to kill the certain insects, but doesn't kill honeybees. But it turns out that in the study, the bees that pollinated the GM corn ended up infected with a virus, and those that pollinated the non-GM corn, or collect pollen from that, did not. And we also know from another study done in Germany that the pollen that they collected, the genes from that pollen transferred into the microorganisms living inside their gut, just like it happens in humans. So it could be long-term exposure. What is more likely to be causing the major cause for colony collapse disorder is a seed treatment insecticide called neonicotinoid insecticides. They were banned in certain countries in Europe, like in Italy, and the next year the colony collapse disorder disappeared in Italy, except in one case where the farmer was still using the seeds with seed treatment from the year before. And unfortunately, the U.S. government has not decided to ban the neonicotinoid insecticides. Now, it's interesting that these seed treatments were used in big quantities because of the fact that the certain genetically modified corn crops were not working particularly well in the first few weeks, and this was to kill the corn rootworm. And so these companies added this chemical which is known to cause disruption in a bee's ability to navigate back to the hive, and that's what's happening there. You open up the hive and they're gone. They're missing. So the bees aren't getting back to the hive. And what happens is they put a lot of these on the corn plants so that it would cover the insecticide activity for the first few weeks, because the gene that they inserted wasn't doing the job. Now, there was a question, well, where are the bees getting access to this particular neonicotinoid insecticide? It turns out there's a little secretion on the plants, and so when these worker bees work all night to fan the queen and control the temperature in the hive, when they're let out in the morning, they immediately go to the first source of nutrition, which is these little water drops, which carry a lot of nutrients from the plant, but it also carries high levels of this neonicotinoid insecticide, which is probably why they lose their direction and ability to get back to the hive. It's probably why it's not proven, but there's a lot of evidence suggesting that that's the reason.
Okay, there you go. Thanks. You know, Monsanto was the first to produce saccharin. Did you know that?
And they also produce DDT and Agent Orange and PCBs.
Yeah. Caffeine and vanillin, they introduced to Coca-Cola.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yep. They've had their hands in a lot of things. Tim in Louisville, Kentucky, east of the Rockies. Go ahead, Tim.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for the food for thought that's not genetically modified.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask if you are familiar with, there's a documentary out there called The Corporation, and I believe Monsanto's mentioned in there, they basically psychoanalyzed some corporations and found that they were sociopathic. And I kind of, get a creepy feeling about, what you're talking about. And, what can we do other than, not buy some of these products?
Well, first of all, the corporation is an excellent video. It's so good I actually sell it on our site, particularly because it has a section in there where it interviews two investigative reporters that worked for a Tampa TV station that was bought by Fox News. And they had been working on an investigative report on genetically modified bovine growth hormone by Monsanto. And they had advertised that they were going to release the 4-part news series, but 3 days before it went to air, a threatening letter from Monsanto's attorney caused the show to be canceled. And so it was postponed. They had the station manager review the whole documentation. Everything was accurate. He said it was a go. So they rescheduled it to play the next week. And then another letter from Monsanto's attorney, this time specifically threatening, quote, dire consequences to Fox and its owner, Rupert Murdoch, caused them to cancel the series. And they, according to these reporters, they were offered hush money to leave and never talk about RBGH again. They refused, and so they were led through a series of rewrites for months and months, 81 rewrites. And every rewrite, they had to make it softer and softer. Finally, they were asked to say that there's no difference in the milk, and they refused because they said even Monsanto's own studies show more IGF-1, which is linked to cancer, more pus, etc. They were fired, and they sued Fox. And the jury awarded one of them $425,000, saying that she was fired because she was threatening to go to the FCC to blow the whistle on the fact that Fox was going to lie on television and violate a law. Well, Fox appealed and won because it's apparently not illegal to lie on TV. It's just a guideline but not a law, and the whistleblower laws in Florida only protect you if you're threatening to go to the FCC over violating a law, not a guideline. So, unfortunately, these poor investigative reporters had to cough up close to $200,000 in paying some of the lawyer fees for Fox.
Will GM foods go away, or is it too late?
Well, 100% it will not go away until we find some new technology to clean it up. But we have the ability to knock it out of the park. You see, I'm actually expecting it to go away. The fastest growing claim among store brands last year was non-GMO, and we find that when people have access to our information, they want to change their diet on the spot. I have a film on my website called Everything You Have to Know About Dangerous Genetically Modified Foods. It's a keynote speech that I gave to 1,000 people. At the beginning, I edited this out. I asked people, rate yourself from 1 to 100 how vigilant you've been at avoiding GMOs in the last week. And 1 to 20 is no vigilance, 100 is high vigilance. How many people are 1 to 20, 20 to 40, etc.? So I poll the group. And then after an hour of describing all the problems that can go on, I say, now rate yourself from 1 to 100 how vigilant you'll be next week. And everyone is now far more vigilant. And it's not just in this group. It's doctors. It's food service executives. Any single demographic that I speak to in the United States, they change their diet habits on the spot when they realize how dangerous GMOs are. So now we're raising money to produce a film that's far more powerful than a PowerPoint presentation that will really convey these dangers in the words of scientists, in the words of the farmers, with pictures, and we want to release it in non-GMO months. So we're raising the money this week, actually, to start filming in June, or to finish our filming in June because we've already started. And we think that plus all the materials that we've been putting out there and reaching millions of people will actually mobilize the people that we need in the targeted demographic groups, in the health-conscious shoppers, in the parents of young kids, in the religious groups that are against the GMO issue altogether, for healthcare professionals. We see there's a lot of people receptive to our message. And if we only need 5% of U.S. shoppers to avoid GMOs, the math is on our side because most Americans, 53%, say they would avoid GMOs if they were given a choice, if it were labeled. So we have this portable labeling in our non-GMO guide.
Well, we see what happens in the Gulf of Mexico, Jeffrey, when we play around with Mother Nature.
Absolutely. And the thing is, the catastrophe in the Gulf is horrible, but it will dissipate over time. With GMOs, the self-propagating genetic pollution that we've released already can outlast the effects of global warming and nuclear waste. It is absolutely an irresponsible technology. maybe someday, when we understand DNA, we could safely and predictably manipulate the DNA for the betterment of health and the environment. But right now, it is so fraught with unpredicted side effects, it will be a burden on all future generations.
Let's go to Santa Ana, California. Alva, it's your turn. Hi, Alva.
Hi, George. First time I got on with you.
Great.
I got on once with George a long time ago. Hi, excellent show tonight, Jeffrey. Hey, of all the things I could bring up, polysorbates or monoundiglycerides or, MSG or aspartame, or, I could go a lot of different directions. I'd like to focus on the hydrogenated oils, which they term now trans fats. And it was kind of insulting because all the many thousands of people that got their arteries clogged up never, were like my parents, their generation believe everything that everybody tells them. These people that are supposedly, the doctors in their field of expertise said to stay away from the saturated fats. And so my parents would buy margarine, plus it was a lot cheaper. I guess now we know that the, oil and water doesn't mix unless you use equal amounts and spin it at thousands of RPM and emulsify it. But you get these oxygen molecules within your hemoglobin, and it scars the inside of the vascular system, and this is where, the platelets will collect and clog your arteries.
You are right.
Yeah.
Elva, they knew about that years and years before trans fats became a negative in public opinion. A good friend of mine was lecturing about it in the 1980s. And so you have to look at some of the early adopters or the detectives out there who are giving the truth long before the corporate-controlled regulators are going to tell it to the population. For example, the American Academy of Environmental Medicine, we mentioned them earlier, they are like right out on the detective level looking for signs of new diseases and their sources. They were the first organization to identify Gulf War syndrome, food allergies, chemical sensitivity, and a host of other things. And they, last year on May 19th, came out with a statement saying that all doctors should prescribe non-GMO diets to all patients. You won't find that with the American Medical Association yet. You'll probably find that in the future, like trans fats took time to get identified. And so we're suggesting to people to follow the advice of these advanced doctors groups and not wait for all the research to be done and not wait for your own physician to necessarily hear about it.
Can I just say one more thing? That's along those lines. I've just found that whatever they're promoting inordinately, whether it be stay away from salt and fat. And I just think the opposite. I think our body makes fat, it stores fat. We could subsist on it. Possibly even we could synthesize those stored ketones into a great many things that our body needs. But I'd just like to say the aspartame, is in all the chewing gum. All the kids are chewing gum. All the kids are fat because it wasn't that used. They were thinking about using it to bulk up cattle, weren't they?
Well, actually, it was a drug, and someone who was working with it had a sandwich and had handled the aspartame with his hands and realized it was sweet, and so it shifted from a drug to a food. And I know
it was the after effect of an anti-ulcer drug, I think.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, we'll talk about that next hour, as a matter of fact. And as we come up to the break in a few minutes, Jeffrey, I want you to give out these websites again because I'm getting fast blast like crazy from people.
First of all, we have a toll-free number for orders only, and that's 888-717-7000. So for those that can't order online, and you want to call 888-717-7000 in the morning when they open up. We have non-GMO-shopping-guide.com, and there you can download a printable version of the shopping guide.
16 pages, right?
Yeah. You can download a 2-page version, which is all condensed, and just put it in your pocket.
Good.
2-page version, which is all condensed, and just put it in your pocket.
Good.
And then we also have responsibletechnology.org, responsibletechnology.org, and there, please sign up for our free email newsletter, and also go to the action alert to tell Governor Strickland of Ohio, take his hands off of our milk. We don't want drug milk. So we have a lot of free resources. We have free videos, free podcasts, free articles, a lot of stuff. We're a nonprofit organization. Please become a member and enjoy.